Call this meeting to order for Planning and Zoning Commission, Monday, April the 15th, 6:30. We have a quorum, absence of Commissioner Kuhn and Commissioner McCatherine. Introduction of agenda and format, staff.
Thank you, Chair. So tonight for each item, we'll have a call to order, followed by a staff report, and then we'll have the applicant presentation, followed by public comments in support or opposition. Please state your name and address for the record, and please be brief and to the point within a 3-minute time frame. Then we'll have the commission and staff discussion regarding each item, and then finally, the commission will vote to recommend approval as presented, approval with conditions, denial of the request, or to table the item. And tonight we have one item on the consent agenda, which is a preliminary plat of French Quarter, Section 1, which is between Industrial Drive and Pearland Parkway. And then 2 items for new business, which is a replat for BLUEWAVE, Shadow Creek, which is at 11213 Shadow Creek Parkway. And then a variance to allow a flag lot in the Neighborhood Service NS District at 3205 Dixie Farm Road. I'll hand it back to you, Chair.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Commissioner Fuertes, second.
Okay, having a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? No discussion. Call for the vote. All in favor, sign by raising your right hand. All of those opposed, same sign. Seeing none, 5-0. That brings us into items removed from the consent agenda, which we had none. Moving on to new business. The first order of business is consideration possible action of plat 24-6, BLUEWAVE Shadow Creek, replat number 2 of Shadow Creek Site 18B. BLUEWAVE Shadow Creek plat number 2 of Shadow Creek Site 18B, a request by PEA Group, applicant for QSR 4 LLC, owner for approval of the replat and the BLUEWAVE Shadow Creek LLC to allow the subdivision of one platted lot into 2 lots in the commercial district for the Shadow Creek plan development described at 12213 Shadow Creek Parkway. Can I have a motion and a second to approve?
Commissioner Fuertes, just a clarification, it's 11213 Shadow Creek Parkway and a motion to approve.
Commissioner Henrik, second.
All right, having a first and a second, that leads us to staff report.
Thank you, Chair. So as mentioned, the request is for a replat to subdivide one platted lot into 2 lots within the Shadow Creek Ranch plan development. Currently is formed as 1 lot, and it is being subdivided into 2, and one half of the lot is currently developed, with the other half of the lot being vacant. And so the property was annexed into the city in 1997. Then it was originally platted, as mentioned, as a part of Lot D of the Shadow Creek Ranch commercial site number 18B in 2007. Then more recently, a variance request came before the Planning and Zoning Commission for the minimum lot width, which was denied in 2016. Then the property was developed with a fast food restaurant in 2018, which is the Arby's along Shadow Creek Parkway. And then more recently, there was a variance request from the minimum lot width, which was approved in 2023 for the other half of the lot, which is currently undeveloped, but previously came before the commission and council for an auto repair facility for the conditional use permit, which was approved. And so looking at the code conformance table, looking at it, meets the comprehensive plan and the thoroughfare plan, as well as the Unified Development Code, as it'll be required to meet the Shadow Creek PD district requirements. Additionally, the site currently has access to utilities, and it has gone through the TIA process. And additionally, in terms of tree mitigation, If required, that will be handled at the time of commercial permitting if there's any trees on the site that are protected. So here we get a look at the site. As you can see, that whole site is the blue outlined area, and that will be all of Lot D. And then so here's the subdivision happening, and you can see the current Arby's on kind of more the eastern portion of the site with the undeveloped portion on the west side. And the site is surrounded to the north, east, and west by the Shadow Creek Ranch Plan Unit development as well as some general business zoning to the south. And looking at the future land use designation, the site is retail offices and services, as well as the properties to the north, south, and west are also that same designation, with some 288 gateway designation to the east. And so here we get a look. This is the original plat that was done for the property. And it was actually a larger property at one point that was broken up and includes a number of different developments. But the red outlined area is Lot D, which includes that current Arby's and the undeveloped portion of the lot. And here we get a look at the proposed plat. And this is similar to what y'all saw previously with the variance that came forward. The Arby's originally developed on the lot whenever it was one lot. And now we're kind of left with not a remainder tract, but the remainder portion, which is to be developed, but needed that variance, and now is coming back in to kind of finish off the replat as the auto repair goes through the permitting process. And so based on the approval criteria, staff recommends approval of the replat. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Applicant presentation, are they? Okay, being that there's no applicant presentation, persons wishing to speak for or against this item, seeing none, second. Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak for and against this item? Seeing none. That brings us to commissions. Anybody? Nope. Then that brings it to the vote. All in favor, sign by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Moving right along to consideration possible action variance 24-03, variance to allow the creation of a flag lot in the Neighborhood Services District, a request by Garrett Carter of Hankin Development, applicant on behalf of Anthony Giuliani, owner, for approval of a variance permitted in section 2.6.1.1B1 of Unified Development Code, UDC, ordinance number 2000-T, from the requirements of sections 3.2.14.2C of the UDC to allow creation of a flag lot on approximately 9.61 acres at location of 3205 Dixie Farm Road. Can I have a motion for and a second for approval?
Commissioner Dugas, motion for approval.
Commissioner McDonald, second.
All right, that leads us to staff report.
Thank you, Chair. So as mentioned, the request before you now is for the creation of a flag lot as part of a larger commercial subdivision. And so the request is to have the lot frontage for this lot to be 50 feet along Dixie Farm Road to create a flag lot. Within the Neighborhood Service District, the minimum lot width is typically 100 feet. So this is to create a flag lot and to have that 50-foot frontage along Dixie Farm Road for one lot. And the intended use for the property, as mentioned, is commercial. And the current state is there's some existing structures on the property which are to be demolished. And if you remember, this is a site where there was a CUP that came before you for an assisted living facility, and that is still currently the proposed. But there's some other uses that may be coming onto the site now, so they're looking at developing the site as a whole. And so as mentioned, the subject property is the Neighborhood Service District. kind of surrounded by a mixture of commercial and residential, with some general commercial to the north with the Walmart and the Home Depot, as well as some larger lot, single-family residential 1 properties to the southwest, and then some smaller, more dense single-family residential 4 properties to the southeast. Looking at the future land use designation, the property, as well as predominantly most of the properties, is the retail offices and services, with some medium density residential to the southeast, which is that more dense residential area. So here we get a look at what the proposed subdivision is currently looking at. There's not a current plat for this yet, but this is kind of the idea that they're trying to go with, is that we'd have the larger kind of outlined red area would be the flag lot, and this is that lot where the assisted living would be proposed, with that 50-foot frontage coming off of Dixie Farm Road. And then you would have essentially 3 tracks at the front of the lot with 1, 3, and 4. And they also wanted to note that that kind of flag portion would be a shared access easement, as they will be having only 1 actual driveway that would come into Dixie Farm Road. Each pad side along there wouldn't have its own driveway. They would have 1. So they'll have kind of shared access where each lot uses that flag to access Dixie Farm Road from there, to kind of improve maybe traffic in the area. And so looking at the approval criteria, staff found that the request met almost all of them besides two of the criteria. And specifically, since this property that is being subdivided, the variance is not necessary for the preservation of the land, as a subdivision is a request by the petitioner. And additionally, the hardship suffered by the petitioner is caused by the need or the desire to subdivide the land further. However, generally it meets the request, and the lots meet the lot requirements as well as the approval criteria for a variance. And so staff recommends approval of the requested variance for the following reasons. First, the proposed lot meets the NS district requirements. And additionally, the variance will allow for the lot to be subdivided from multiple commercial uses under separate ownership to occur on the property. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you, staff. That leads us to application for applicant presentation. Sir, for the record, please go to the podium. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Anthony Giuliani, 3205 Dixie Farm Road. I'm the applicant for the property. I didn't really have anything to add to what staff already said.
Thank you, sir. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, second time. Third time, anyone wishing to speak for or against this item? All right, that moves us into commissioner discussion. Anybody?
More comments than anything else. No questions really. As we continue to be an infill town, I think we're going to see more of these type things, and I appreciate staff working with the applicant on this type of change. And cross-access agreement, combining that with a flag lot makes a lot of sense. I do have one question though, and that's that there's 3 tracks here, namely 1, 3, and 4 with frontage along Dixie Farm. And I noted that the frontage was less than 150 feet, and that may be for GB and GC being 150. What I don't want is the applicant to put themselves in more of a hardship by getting this, if that in fact is the rule for NS. Is that going to be an issue for him when he goes to plat or when he goes to build?
Yeah, so the NS district is actually, the minimum lot width is 100 feet. So it's less than the GB and the GC. And it's probably meant because CNS may be next to residential areas, and they may not have as big of lots potentially. And there's also a lesser minimum lot area than those GB and GC minimums.
Perfect. I just didn't want him again to cause himself more hardship and paint himself in a corner. So appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a question. The track 4, are they, I can see that they can only go right. Are they going to have their own driveway, or is there going to be an access easement across the front?
Yeah, from my understanding, they will. I think there's an existing thing, or maybe access right there, maybe for Center Point, but they won't be able to actually. My guess is since they're saying they're gonna only have one driveway off of Dixie Farm, and it's gonna be shared through that flag. They're gonna have a cross access easement based on or through the plat that's gonna allow for people to maybe move through the site, move through track 3 to get to Dixie Farm, because I don't think driveway separation is not gonna allow them to have two, and I'll allow engineering to weigh in on that as well.
So this is just to get the flag lot, and the next step is they're gonna be required to do the access easement along the front.
Yes, they would have to have some kind of front. If they didn't do the access easement, they would have to have some kind of actual driveway through track 4, essentially. But through the plat is when we would get the cross access easement.
Okay.
Commissioner Hendricks, hearing that concern expressed by you and seeing the red text on the document on the screen, it might be appropriate to make sure that that is a condition of the variance approval.
Okay, yes,
you
I'd like
wanted-
to make that a condition. How do I proceed?
You would move to make a condition of approval that tract 1, 2, and 4 will only have access from Dixie Farm from the flag portion of tract 2.
Okay. I make a condition that track 1, 4, and 3 have access via track 2 from a shared access easement. Good?
I hear your motion. Is there a second?
Commissioner Fortis, I'll second that.
And then there would be a vote on that amending motion. So, yeah.
All right, do we need to make a motion to do it, or just?
Yeah, that was the motion that Commissioner Hendricks made.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment, sign by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. 5-0, it passes.
So now the motion's been amended, and we still need a vote on the final amendment, on the amended motion.
Does anybody else have any discussion before we vote? Okay, voting for approval, everybody sign by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Okay, that brings us to discussion items. City Council update, staff.
Don't think there were any items last time. I think at the last meeting, Martin had discussed the Pearland Town Center going and the church along Harkey. Since then, we haven't had any items go to City Council, but for the next meeting, we'll have a couple, because I know at the last P&Z meeting, I saw a couple of CUP, so those will be kind of next up going to Council.
All right, that brings us to Commissioner's Activity Report. Anybody have anything to report?
Only that, and it's coming up, our workshop on the May 13th, I believe starts at 4 or 5 p.m., right? 4 p.m.? Okay, just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
That is correct. Didn't they change it to 4?
Let us get confirmation and follow up on my calendar. It's still there at 4:30.
Okay.
We'll follow up with the commission.
All righty. Anybody else? All right. That brings us to our next P&Z meeting. Will be May the 6th, 2024. City Council and P&Z Joint Plan Development Workshop on May the 13th, 2024. So that brings us to adjourn at 6:49.